Hey everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. I'm Jess, one of the co-hosts of the Half-Blood Princesses, a Harry Potter podcast, and today I will be answering 20 Harry Potter related questions that Demi sent me, so let's go. The first question is, what's your favorite magical creature? My favorite magical creature is a phoenix because I think it's so cool how they basically live forever. Like, they die and then they're born from the ashes, which I think would be so cool to watch. Also, I think it's awesome that phoenixes have healing powers, and I love to hear a phoenix's lament. I mean, I know it's supposed to be a sad song, but in Half-Blood Prince, it's described as really pretty, so I'd love to hear it. It's fascinating, too, that phoenixes are very hard to tame, and so if I was lucky enough to tame a phoenix, I would love to have it as a pet. The second question is, if you could choose different colors for Ravenclaw House, what would they be and why? Well, when I was sorted into Ravenclaw, I was really excited because one of their colors is blue, and that's my favorite color. It's the color of the sky and of the ocean, and it's super peaceful, so I love the color blue. I also associate that a lot with intelligence because I feel like people who are intelligent are like calm and calculating, so I wouldn't change that color, but I would change the other color to purple because purple is the color of royalty, and I feel like rulers need to have intelligence to rule a kingdom, and so I feel like Ravenclaws have the potential to become rulers, and so having blue and purple just makes sense together. Plus, they're a really pretty combination. The next question is, why is Prisoner of Azkaban your favorite book? Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite book because it's number 3, and number 3 is a magical number in my book. But for real though, like, I love all of the aspects of Prisoner of Azkaban. I love that the Marauders map is introduced, which is a really important plot device throughout the series. I love the time turner and the whole story behind that. I think it's hilarious that Dumbledore was like, oh, a 13-year-old can be responsible for, changing the course of time and going to all these different classes. Like, sure, let's give her that responsibility. If it was anybody but Hermione Granger, like, we'd all be screwed, but still, I thought that was hilarious. The whole part with Buckbeak was the best part in the entire book because they were able to save him and then save Sirius, and it really gave Hermione her moment to shine when she was talking to Harry, and she's like, here's how time travel works. So I thought that was really awesome. Not only that, but we are introduced to Lupin and Sirius. Now, firstly, Lupin is the best Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher Hogwarts School has ever had. Like, he has an actual curriculum. He isn't wacko, for lack of a better word. And he's just kind to all of his students. Plus, when Harry asked him, for assistance with the Dementors, Lupin was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Like, he didn't turn Harry away like some teachers might, and he took the time out of his day to help Harry with something, and that's just really, really sweet of him. And yeah, maybe he had ulterior motives because, Harry is James's son, and he's like, yeah, I should better help Harry, but I think if Harry was any other student, he'd help him. And so I love Lupin. He also turns out to be like a fatherly figure to Harry along with Sirius. And so it was really important that Lupin was introduced in this book. It's also important, like I said, that Sirius was introduced in this book. And we get the whole emotional roller coaster of figuring out, who Sirius is, because Harry's like, oh, he's a bad person, but then he turns out to be good. And so it's just an interesting dynamic that we get in this book. And it's great. And also, we see Hogsmeade for the first time in this book, which I love deeply because I love Hogsmeade. So there's just a lot of moving parts in the third book that make it really important to the series. And my second favorite book, if you're wondering, is book 7. The next question is, if I came face to face with Professor Umbridge, what would I say to her? And I think I would just say, you're a terrible person and you deserve a life sentence in Azkaban along with a very slow, painful death. Also, you look like a toad, and you are an insult to all toads because Trevor is pretty great. Plus, pink is supposed to look good on anyone, but it looks terrible on you. Oh, and I hate cats. The next question is, describe your ideal Wizarding World wedding. Who would you marry? Who would be your maid of honor? And who would be your bridesmaids? So first of all, I would marry Ron because he is super cute, he's loyal, he's kind, and he's brave, and he's a ginger. That plays a factor. Luna is my favorite character and would probably be my best friend in the series, so she'd be my maid of honor. And my bridesmaids would be Hermione and Ginny. The next question is, if you were one of the Marauders, which one would you be, and why does that character fit you the best? If I was one of the Marauders, I think I would be Lupin. Lupin is obviously the smartest of the bunch, I feel, and he ended up becoming a prefect. And I feel like if I was at Hogwarts, I'd become a prefect. I'm also kind of devil's advocate when I'm in a situation with people and they're saying, hey, let's do this. And I'm like, yeah, but look at all the possibilities. Like, we might get in trouble. So I think I'd probably be Lupin. The next question is, why is Polyjuice Potion your favorite? That's easy. Polyjuice Potion is my favorite potion because you can change into another person. And I think that's really, really cool. Like, I would love to become Taylor Swift for a day. Like, who wouldn't want to be Taylor Swift for a day? Plus, I think it's so cool that, you know, whatever you change into, you know, you have to grab someone's fingernails or their hair or something, and the potion turns a different color depending on the person. So if it was me, I'd probably just, like, grab hair from 3 people and have, like, 3 vials of the potion in front of me and be like, ooh, what's it gonna turn into? And then whatever color I liked, that's who I would be. And it'd be really funny too, because if I had 3 people's DNA, I wouldn't have labeled the flask of the potion, so I just randomly pick who I'd turn into and see if I could act like them for a day. Plus, like, you know, that potion wears off, so you'd have to figure out when that would happen, so, you know, you're not screwed. And then there's the whole thing of, like, disposing of the real person for a while so you can be them, and I think that task in itself is daunting and quite entertaining. You know, what they did with Crabbe and Goyle in the second book, like, I thought that was hilarious. And so I just think it would be a highly entertaining charade no matter how you did it. And also, if you didn't act exactly like the person, people would probably find you out, and yeah, that'd be a whole disaster. So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of risks associated with Polyjuice Potion, and I feel like I'd just like to take that risk just once and see what happens. The next question is, out of the classes that we don't learn much about, which one would you be most curious about? And I think I would be most curious about ancient runes, because it makes me think of hieroglyphics, so it makes me wonder if they're learning about like Egyptian wizards or different things like that. I mean, runes sounds like a different language, so what time period are the runes from? Like, are the runes used today? Like, there's so many things that she could have done with that class. And Hermione just takes that class and we learn nothing about it, which I think is a disservice to us because we should know what that class is, and I'd honestly want to take it. The next question is, what would the best day at the Borough look like? I think the answer to that question is really simple. I think the best day at the Borough would be Christmas Day. I would love to wake up in that weirdly shaped house on Christmas morning and go down the staircase and see snow all over the fields and have that, like, Christmas tree with the gnome as the angel on top, and then open presents and have, like, a Christmas dinner with all of Mrs. Weasley's amazing cooking. And the Borough is such a family place, so Christmas invites a bunch of people to come over at that time, and I feel like the more people crowded in the Borough, the better and the funner it is. So I would love that. I'd love to go outside in the snow and have a snowball fight with the twins, and even listen to Mrs. Weasley's weird radio station and hear Celestina Warbeck just, like, singing random Christmas carols, because I think wizarding carols are pretty amusing, and so that would probably be a great part of the day as well. And I just think that winter would be the best time at the Borough, just because it's so cozy, and oh god, I would love it so much. So the next question is, if you were stranded on a desert island, which 3 characters would you be stranded with, And aside from your wands, what's one magical object you would want with you on the island? So that's easy. I would definitely want Ginny with me because she's really fierce. I would want Charlie Weasley because I feel like he has tamed dragons. He could probably survive in a desert island. And I would honestly want Hermione with me because she's smart. I mean, she could tell me what the herbs are and what I could eat. And obviously she could perform spells with your wand, so you could make like a fire and like water and stuff. And if she had to, I mean, she could just Avada Kedavra some fish. Like, so, Charlie and Ginny would be there for like fighting and like hunting if need be, and Hermione would just be there for like intelligence. In terms of a magical object, I would want Sirius's knife that could open and unlock anything, because I feel like that's a multi-purpose object that you could use on the island. Like, the invisibility cloak is cool, but I just don't picture there being any people on the island that you'd have to hide from. I think you could hide from an animal just fine if you were behind a bush. The next question is super simple. What wizarding career would you want? I would want to be a teacher at Hogwarts. I love school and I would want to live there forever and basically just be Professor McGonagall. The next question is, if you got a Harry Potter themed tattoo that moved like the pictures, what would the tattoo be? I would want a Celtic knot or one of those forget-me-nots. And I would have the tattoo on my wrist, I feel like, because it'd be really cool because it would unravel. And so if I was bored, I could just look at it all day. And two, if I could put it over like a vein that goes to my heart, it could symbolize the person I love, like, don't forget me, love me, my love may be complicated, our relationship may be complicated, but everything just unravels toward my heart. So I feel like that would be really, really romantic. I'm just such a romantic sucker, and I love Celtic knots, so that's what I would do. The next question is, if I had a legacy in the wizarding world, would I be a ghost, a portrait, or a chocolate frog card? This is a layered question. If I was a ghost, I could probably only haunt like one place, like Hogwarts, and I could talk, but like no one wants to talk to ghosts, so I'd probably have a really lonely life. If I was a chocolate frog card, people get a million of them and you just flip from card to card, you wouldn't have the ability to talk. So there's that factor. But if you're a portrait, depending on where you're painted, you could go from that painting to another and you could talk. And people are more likely to talk to a portrait than they are to a ghost. So I think I'd be a portrait because I'd want the ability to talk. I'd want to look lifelike. I wouldn't want to look like a ghost. I'd want to be able to go from one place to the next. So I think I'd be a portrait. Ideally, I would hope that by the time I died, I would have made it to headmaster of Hogwarts and my portrait would be in the headmaster's office. But that's just me. The next question is, what Hogwarts class would you struggle the most in? I think the Hogwarts class I would struggle the most in would be Ancient Runes if I took it, because that seems like a really visual class that I wouldn't be able to figure out. Like, Care of Magical Creatures would be fine because I can hear those creatures around me and figure it out. Potion ingredients would be fine because I'd be able to smell them. If they had like an odor, I'd be able to do that. Defense against the dark arts, I have good reflexes, so I'd be fine. Same thing with charms. Transfiguration might be hard, but I don't know. I feel like I could get by. But runes, I don't think I could do. Arithmancy sounds like math. I could probably do it. So definitely that class. Or divination. If I had to take divination, I'd probably struggle in that class because I don't have an open mind like Luna. I feel like I do, but I don't think it's as open as I wish it was, so I don't think I'd see anything through that stupid crystal ball. I mean, I can't see period, but still. The next question is, if you could start a club at Hogwarts, what would it be called and what would it be all about? So I think my club would be called Book Buddies, and it would be a book club at Hogwarts. But it wouldn't be just any book club. I think McGonagall would run it, and we'd have different topics every semester, like stuff that, we don't learn in the school. So maybe one topic is religion, and we learn about all the religions in the wizarding world, and we go to like different places like temples and or mosques or synagogues or stuff, and we like learn about, whatever wizards worship, and then like the next semester we could read a book on like healing and like learn from Madame Pomfrey, and then maybe another semester we could talk about wizarding artifacts and see if there's an actual like museum in the wizarding world and like go to it and learn about it, maybe learn how the artifacts are found and how they're preserved. And then maybe another one could be an extension on care of magical creatures, so actually going into that creature's habitat after we read about them. So, you know, McGonagall could chaperone one semester and like different teachers could take turns. I think that'd be really, really cool. And obviously on the side, if people wanted to read something different or just read like novels that are in the Wizarding world, that'd be cool too. But I feel like there's so many opportunities for extensions of things that you learn at Hogwarts. So basically it'd be a club for the nerds. But I think it'd be really fun. You know, I think it'd be cool. And then obviously if I was at Hogwarts, I'd still be involved in like Dumbledore's army and stuff like that. But I think this would be just really, really cool. Oh, also, I should say that if I was at Hogwarts, I would love to also start a choir because they don't have that there, and I think music would just be so fun, and just like imagine what types of songs they would sing. The next question is, would you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? Why or why not? That's a really easy answer. I would. My secondary house is Gryffindor, and so I'm very impulsive and I'm brave, and so if someone said, hey, you get a chance to go on a cool adventure and win a bunch of money. Sure, I'll put my name in the Goblet of Fire. I mean, it's sort of deadly, but who cares? I'd do it. And Harry also learns a lot of important spells that he uses in his first Dumbledore's army lesson in the 5th book. And so that's a really cool way to prepare for that and to just experience real world experiences. I mean, let's face it, if you don't figure out how to get the egg from the dragon in the first task, then odds are you couldn't be involved with dragons like Charlie Weasley. Like, you could, if you want to argue that, it would define your career. I mean, if you sucked at everything, you couldn't be like one of those like stunt men that they have in the real world. You know, you couldn't do that as a career. So I don't know, I just think it's really interesting, and I love all the competitions. Granted, I will tell you from the beginning that Goblet of Fire is a very filler book because of this. I mean, it takes up so much time, but it's pretty interesting to watch. How would you feel if you had been magical all along and your Hogwarts letter just got lost in the mail? I would be ecstatic because I've always wanted to go to Hogwarts. And so if my letter just got lost in the mail, like, I could go as an adult. They could do that. I would do it. Like, oh my god, that'd be so, so cool. I would happily leave the real world to go to Hogwarts and to just be there. Also, my dream is literally walking up those steps and hearing McGonagall say, "Welcome to Hogwarts." If that was me, I'd be crying so hard, and then it would be hard for me to get up the stairs, but oh my gosh, that'd be so cool. The next question is, if you could have a magical pet, which one would you have and what would its name be? I'm guessing this question refers to the pet you bring to Hogwarts, and so in that case, the choices are cat, rat, toad, or owl, and this question is so easy. I would have an owl. I mean, think about all these other pets. They're so generic. Like, in the real world, we have cats, we have toads. I mean, we don't have rats as pets because they're just gross. But, like, in the real world, people don't have owls as pets. So, of course, I would want an owl. I would name her Olivia because Olivia the owl, duh, alliteration. And owls are so useful. Like, they can bring you letters and bring you mail. Like, what the heck can a cat do? Find its yarn? Or a rat just like chew something in your dorm room that you didn't want? Like, no, like that's really dumb. If you're in a magical world, you should take advantage of everything there, and an owl helps you do that. And plus, I'm not a reptile person. Like, no offense to Trevor, but I just don't think I want to. The next question is probably the most important question out of this entire bunch, and the question is, if you could ask McGonagall to give you advice on anything, what would it be? I spent a really long time thinking about this question. And I think I would ask her what her life's mantra is. So if you don't know, a mantra is like something you live by, something that you can repeat to yourself in times of hardship, and also is something that like will inspire you to do better. And I just want to know what her mantra is. Like, what keeps her going, you know, like, who imparted wisdom onto her that has made her into this bold, sassy individual she is today, who just like takes life by the horns. Like, I admire Professor McGonagall. I would read an entire book of her advice if she wrote it. Like, this woman, I don't care if she's fictional to you, okay, but she's a real person to me, and she would be the best mentor, like, ever. The last question is, if you and Luna were to explore the world, what are the top 3 places you would go? Again, this question is really, really difficult because I want to go anywhere, but in order to answer this question, I would have to infer that I went to Hogwarts, so I had been all around the UK by myself already. Like, I'd been to Ireland, I'd been to Scotland, I'd been to London. So after that, the top 3 places I want to go would be Italy, because I've always wanted to go there, Australia, because I've always wanted to go there, and Egypt, because they talk about how Ron's family went to Egypt and the cool things they saw there. And so I just want to go to Egypt and the Wizarding World and, like, go into all these, like, tombs and, like, see the mummies and, like, hear the history of what it was like there. Like, that'd be really cool. Thank you all so much for watching my Harry Potter 20 questions video. Thank you also to Demi for sending me these 20 questions, and I will see you all very soon. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned for the next episode of the Half-Blood Princesses, a Harry Potter podcast.